making the case, the simple case, of what they want. They want to be able to pay fair taxes with a check. How hard is that? You want the federal government to respect the will of millions of voters from Maine to California. You want the insane prohibitions against clinical research on cannabis to be done away with. That restricts the opportunities we've got to mature the industry, to be able to develop important, effective tests for impairment. This is a critical issue. As you know, there are 20 million people a month who use cannabis. And many people, I mean, I've lost track of the number of people who've told me that medical marijuana has changed their lives. And it is totally mainstream. You want to make sure that the Veterans Administration, doctors, can talk to America's veterans in states where it is legal. But it's not just for our veterans who die too frequently from overdose, who have been given opioids at a frequency far, far in excess of the general population, and are denied a medication that can be transformative. It shouldn't be that hard. Well, we're coming into what I think now is the home stretch. I was appalled at what Jeff Sessions did, but the more I reflected on it, it may be a favor. As I've been campaigning around the country, I have made the prediction and a number of bets that this crusade is over in 5 years. Well, that was last year, so I've only got 4 years left. But I think if we all do our job, thanks to Jeff Sessions, we can cut that time in half. We've got people who are involved that have not been involved before. We have more media attention, and we are getting more people in Congress. You know, I mentioned the Rohrabacher-Blumenauer amendment was easier to get into the continuing resolution than any other time that we've dealt with it. Congress is pretty much aligned. It's the best Congress we've ever had. Virtually every one of my Democratic colleagues and now dozens of Republicans are on board. But let's just lay it out. The Republican leadership would not even allow us a vote this last year on continuing it. Now, we're in reasonably good shape as the continuing resolution has the provision. We have, if we ever get around to actually passing a budget, how quaint is that? It's on the Senate side, and we've got, as I mentioned, strong support on the House side. We've got a problem with some people in key positions who've messed with us, who took my veterans access legislation that passed both the House and the Senate in last Congress and took it out in a conference committee. That has to change. Let me tell you what I'm doing, because this is probably an area that I'm spending more time on legislatively than any other. First and foremost, I'm trying to make sure that all my Democratic colleagues are in line. It's a huge percentage, but they're not all there, and I'm working to make sure that everybody understands these issues. Second, I've communicated with every man and woman running as a Democrat for Congress, and there's a gazillion of them, lots of energy, about these issues, how to talk about it, how it is important for them to take an unequivocal position. There's no problem politically if they do. I think there's a problem politically if they don't. I will go to my grave convinced that if Hillary Clinton could have given a coherent answer on cannabis, she'd be president today. And it wasn't that I didn't tell her, or that you didn't tell her. It's just skittishness. An inauthentic answer of something that she knew. And I think, frankly, she paid a political price. I want people this go-around who aren't with us, who aren't helpful, who aren't specific. I want them to pay a political price.